European Talent Cup has quickly established itself as the first step in the racing ladder for the stars of tomorrow in the Moto3 class. Starting in the European Talent Cup, riders can progress on their road to MotoGP through the Red Bull Rookies Cup and the Junior World Championship. Last year, David Alonso was the ETC winner, and he started this season with wins in the Rookies Cup and also a Moto3 Junior World Championship podium. We're at the Ricardo Tormo circuit for the second round of the European Talent Cup. Welcome back to Valencia. It's the second round of the European Talent Cup. We had two races last time out in Estoril, and we had two great races. We're going to expect more of the same from the ETC riders today. But Kiko, it's going to be a real challenge for them as well. Conditions a little bit tricky out there.
We've seen already, Steve, that in CV Moto3, them conditions caught a lot of riders out in the opening stages, and it will be even more emphasised here in ETC. The experience of these riders is not the same as the ones in Moto3, and we are going to see a couple of casualties, I'm sure, throughout. The good news is the first round was great, and here it is, right on cue. ETC had two races at Estoril just a fortnight ago, and Casey O'Gorman was one of the first race leaders of the year until that moment. He did remount, of course, and got back underway. But we had a massive group, about 16 riders at one point, so someone wasn't just missing out on the podium, they were going to miss out on points. We saw this incident for Philip Ton, and he wiped out a couple of riders going into the chicane, but it was Jacob Rulston who came from 8th on the grid and kept his cool on the last lap to take victory, whilst the likes of Alvaro Carpe crashed out. There was drama for Rulston, though, in race 2, and there was a different rider at the front more or less every lap. It was the traditional ETC drama. David Garcia was right there, so was Alberto Ferrandez, so was Maximo Martinez, and he is one of the most flamboyant riders we've seen. In the end, it was David Garcia who took victory. We've had two different winners so far in the ETC in 2021. Will we see three?
As you said, Kiko, we've had two different winners in the opening two races of the year in the ETC. We've actually had 6 different podium riders in there as well. So we're still waiting for someone to really establish themselves as the favourites in the class. But certainly in this class, Kiko, such parity. Everyone's on the exact same bike. It really does just come down to the rider talent to make the difference.
It does. And, you know, we've seen before in years gone by, Estoril is not the most accurate indicator of what is to come. And that is no clearer shown than 2 weeks ago. It's never been clearer shown than 2 weeks ago, because here at Valencia it's different again, and I do feel we are going to see a bit more of a pattern emerge here in Valencia. The riders who have been top all weekend have kind of been top in qualifying as well, across both groups. The only real constant is Alvaro Carpe. He's on the front row, a second consecutive front row, and, you know, he is one of the favourites going into this season, but he's yet to really show us that potential. We never saw it at Estoril, besides in qualifying.
Yeah, and for Carpe, we saw him crash out of the early race lead. But let's have a look back at the qualifying session where we saw Hugo Milan take the pole position.
I don't have word to say. I stay very happy for the result. I think I need to do a good time in this qualify. I see Alvaro Carpe in the turn 1, and I think I go to him to stay in the first position, and I stay very happy for this result, and tomorrow more better.
Says Super Hugo on his ladders, Kiko, and he's in a great run of form at the minute. He took a podium last time out in Estoril, and now his first career pole position in the European Talent Cup.
Given the fact he's on pole, Steve, dare we say Hugo Boss? or are we not going down there?
You definitely don't do that. You can see there actually just a note for Casey O'Gorman as well. Casey had a big crash during the testing here in Valencia. He's out of action for this weekend. We saw good flashes from him in the opening race of the year. He was able to get himself to the front in race 1, had some crashes, but looks like he's got a lot of speed. For Hugo Milan, though, like I said, first career pole position, a real opportunity now.
First ever front row for him. It's a bit like Carpe last time out. He's a completely new experience for him. And again, Valencia, it's not going to be too difficult for him to learn. He's got experience around here, but it's just not in that leading group. But he's definitely going to be one of the riders to watch today. Hugo Milan, podium last time out, of course. Yeah,
you can see Max Martinez as well. He was always battling it out in the front. You can see there 2 top 5 finishes in Estoril. That was his debut weekend in the ETC. He's adapted very well, Kiko. He
has adapted very, very well. He definitely got a style in the braking areas, that is for certain. Everyone else will be keeping out of his way this time around. Although, as rugged and ragged as he looked, he was quite safe. He wasn't putting ridiculous moves on everyone. He was just very spectacular.
Yeah, and it looks like a rider to keep an eye on as well on that number 28 machine. Certainly, if you're able to qualify in that front row of the grid, you give yourself great opportunity in the ETC. We've seen Alvaro Carpe do that in both races so far this year. He's pole man in Estoril and now a front row starter here in the 3rd race of the year for the ETC.
He had a good round of Valencia last year as well, Steve. It was in the leading group, just dropped off at the end of the races. He's only 14th in the championship after that really difficult first round at Estoril, and he needs solid points here. He can't afford any more mistakes. Yeah,
it was a shame in the opening race the year that he had that crash, because he was fast all the way through the weekend, and certainly for Alvaro Carpe, looking forward to seeing what he's able to do this weekend here in Valencia, see if he's able to get himself back into that scrap for the podium spots once again. We actually saw it last time out in Estoril, like I said, Kiko, 6 different riders stand on the podium. This was the rider that won the first race of the year, Jacob Rolston. And for Jacob, he crashed out of the second race, but he was impressive all the way through the weekend.
He had a solid start to his season, and he's only 6 points off the title lead at the moment. But the problem is, as you can see on that graphic, Steve, first and then a DNF, and that's the kind of inconsistencies that are going to just mean more than they do now. It might not seem like a big drama, but if that is a pattern that starts to emerge through the season, it isn't going to be good by the end of it. But Rolston's a talent. He has definitely got the speed. And actually last year, we did see some good consistency. Best ever qualifying in 4th place on the grid here for today's 2 races. He's going to be one to watch.
Yeah, lots of riders to keep an eye on all the way through this leading group. And the structure of the ETC is basically we've got almost 50 riders at every race weekend, and the groups are split up, and it's set by your fastest time from each group basically. But Jabi was able to be very strong during the course of his free practice and qualifying sessions, Kiko. We also saw in the opening race in Estoril, he was able to get himself into that leading group as well.
Yeah, Jabi Zuratuzzi, he came from 15th on the grid in Estoril. Solid first race in 11th, his debut in the class, and he was inside the top 6 by race 2. So Zuratuzzi, it seems to me the pattern has emerged that he has got a great kind of base to build from early on in race weekends. And if he can just keep it upright and again score good points, be inside that top 6, top 8, Zuratuzzi will be off and running, because ETC, it's not like Moto3 where there's a super high level of consistency. You can do all of this and score good points and still find yourself in the mix without really pushing on too much in the closing stages of races and making mistakes.
Yeah, it really is a case of being able to, when you're at the front, score big points in this class. It's very rare we see what happened last year with David Alonso, where he was able to just win a lot of races all the way through the season. For Adrian Cruz, though, he comes into round 2 as the championship leader as well. Came away with a podium in the opening race of the year and then a top 5 finish in race 2.
By far one of the most consistent riders. We know he is going to be in the mix right through this year. And this is his home race. He's from Valencia, so Cruz says it means a lot for him, this one. He needs to get back on that podium, a 2nd podium of the year. As you said, Steve, there hasn't been anyone who has repeated the podium performances they have achieved in race 1 or 2 at Estoril so far.
And here's Joelle Ruth on the 3rd row of the grid as well. And for Joel, he was a podium finisher in Estoril. That was on his debut in the ETC, so adapted really well. Kiko starts on the 3rd row.
Another debutant. We've been talking off air a lot, Steve, about the fast rookies in this class. I don't think we've seen anything like it in the ETC before, where everyone anyone who's kind of come in at a decent level with good experience in other classes has been fast straight away. And a podium on his debut in race 1, best grid of 5th at Estrella, he's 7th here today. That isn't a bad start to your ETC career. He has got a long future ahead of him.
Yeah, it's good consistency from Joelle to start the season for him and start his adventure in the ETC as well. And certainly looks like he could have a little bit of something about him. Another rider that definitely has something about him, though, is Alberto Ferrandez. He'll start from 8th on the grid, Kiko, and we saw last time out just how quick he could be. 17 laps of European Talent Cup action is about to get underway here in Valencia, and we've got a new pole sitter with Hugo Milan setting the pace so far this weekend. He had a podium last time out in Estoril where we saw 6 different riders take a podium spot. So is anyone going to start to really separate themselves from the European Talent Cup field? Steve English and Kiko Giles bringing the action, and we've got 17 laps of European Talent Cup action upcoming. It's
going to be, Steve, one of these races, I feel, that as we're building into it, it's not going to be like what we've just seen in the Moto3 class. This is going to be fireworks from the off, and that means we are going to be very worn out come the end of this race, so that is for sure. But I mean, this is race 3 of 11 in the championship season for the ETC. You cannot win the title in this round. You can't win the title in the first 2 rounds, but you can certainly lose it. And if you are inconsistent, if you do crash quite a lot, then you are going to have a heck of a challenge to get them points back. Just looking back through the grids, obviously there's a lot of Brits in this class, a lot of Brits moving now to the European Talent Cup, and Emmanuel Brinton is one of them. Others include Johnny Garnes, and we'll keep an eye on them for you throughout. A couple of Americans in there as well, so good to see that the Brits and the Americans starting to come good and take it to the likes of the Spaniards and the Italians, who are at the moment dominating at the front of the field.
Yeah, Chris Daniel Jr., one of the American riders in the field on the number 70 machine, making his European Talent Cup debut. He was able to win races last year in the feeder class to this series, so it looks like he's got quite a bit of talent. But during the course of this race, Kiko, 17 laps, very easy to make mistakes. We saw that in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. Track conditions, though, are going to continue to improve all the way through.
They're going to continue as long as we don't get rain. There isn't any scheduled until about 3 or 4 hours. Hopefully it doesn't come early. Someone having a problem on the grid there. Couldn't quite see who it was. I think they've got going now, though, as they come in through turn 2, just in front of the safety car. Conditions are improving, Steve. As you said, the curbs will start drying. The white lines now are going to be more or less okay at all the points they really need to be, and that should make for some great racing. The ETC is always the class that provides all of the fun and the action and the unpredictability. But having said all of that, there are riders capable of breaking clear in this class. Carpe is one of them. Piqueras, Angel Piqueras is another. Jacob Rulston is one. Now he's a believer after that first race of the season where he took victory. So there's a lot of riders who have got the pace, but it's whether or not they can actually convert it. Cruz there is the championship leader ahead of David Almanza. Rulston and Milan Gracia in 4th, and 7 points covering the top 4 after the first 2 races from round 1 at Estoril. This is going to be tight. Couple of riders, as you see there, must have been watching the CV Moto3 race. A lot of them taking a long lap penalties. Jacob Rulston was one of them, actually. So that's good racecraft already on this warm-up lap, just to get a feel in case there's an incident, in case you need to take that long lap. What's it like offline?
Well, there are some riders that are going to have to take that long lap penalty, including number 54 of Ferrandez. He is going to have to take a long lap penalty for riding slowly during the course of practice and qualifying. So for a lot of these riders, it is important to be able to take the time just to run through that long lap penalty, understand what the grip level's like. It's very easy to cost yourself a little bit more time than you should during the long laps. Typically, it's around about 2.5 seconds it costs you. That's what it cost Matsuyama during the Moto3 race. You can see here, though, our pole sitter, Hugo Milan, making his way to the front of the grid. A lot of confidence for the 14-year-old. He's in his 3rd season of action in the ETC, and he's made a massive step forward once again. Takes that pole position, looks fast, looks confident all the way through the weekend, and after getting a podium last time out in Estoril, he's really trying to use this as the stepping stones for his championship challenge. Max Martinez also on the front row of the grid on the number 28. Very combative rider. He made his ETC debut last time out in Estoril. 2 top 5 finishes. And then Alvaro Carpe on the number 83 machine as well. We're getting ready for 17 laps of action in the European Talent Cup. And the red lights go out and Hugo Milan makes a good start. But Alvaro Carpe with a very fast start. Jacob Rolston as well on the number 12 machine. He's made a fast start. So we've got Carpe leading on the run in towards turn 1. Jacob Rolston, race winner in Estoril, into second spot. Everyone trying to shuffle their way down into turn 1. You can see some of the riders trying to get down the inside. It looks like that could be Adrian Cruz trying to make the move. Is everyone able to make it cleanly through the first couple of corners? They weren't able to do that in the Moto3 race just an hour ago. It looks like all of our leaders, though, in the European Talent Cup race, able to make it through unscathed.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's through cleanly. A lot of riders running wide. That's normal. We'll have a look back up the track. No marshals running. Everyone's through. And look who's through into second. That's Joelle Esteban already. The number 78 of Joelle Esteban. He's come from row 3. That's a great start. And these are the Cuna de Campeones machines there. Number 10 and I think that's 44. That's your pulse hitter Hugo Milan. And just ahead of him is Adrian Cruz, the local rider from Valencia. One rider going off. Is that Philip Ton? If that is Philip Ton, he has made an incredible start. He's from around row 6, I think. He was 16th on the grid, if I'm not mistaken.
We saw Ton last time out, action all the way through those Estoril races. Actually caused one of the big moments of the race when he lost the front, took out a couple of other riders, but with a fast start during this race. The front of the field, though, Esteban Ruiz trying to get down the inside. Not quite willing to make that move right now, but looks very fast in these early stages of the race after qualifying on the 3rd row of the grid. Carpe, though, leads the race on the number 83 machine. He led the early stages of the opening race of the year in Estoril before a late crash. He needs a good finish here, Kiko. He needs big points today. He
needs podiums. That's what he needs. He absolutely needs a podium at the bare minimum, but unfortunately it's not going to be very easy because there's a lot of fast riders in behind him. Look at Hugo Milan turned it under his teammate. Was there a 50-pence piece on the truck? Because he absolutely turned it under Cruz. They're going side by side down the straight, and yeah, Milan's got that sorted very, very early on indeed. All fanning out. The number 95 moving through. That's Marco Morelli. That's a good start from him. He's right with the leading group. He's a race winner in this class, of course, don't forget, from last year. But now he really needs to show his pace this season. Lots of riders running off track at the top of the screen.
Yeah, lots of riders running off. You've got to make sure that you don't do that too often. You can get a long lap penalty for that. We've already mentioned that we are going to have some riders take a long lap penalty in the early stages. The number 54, Ferrandez, is going to take that. He's up there in about 6th position right now. That's going to push him back down the order. So how long will he wait for that as well, Kiko? It's when you take that penalty is going to be important as well. You don't want to leave it too early and get yourself mired back at the back of a group.
Yeah, you don't want to take it too late though as well, in case you are there's a gap already separating. You can't afford to lose touch with the leading group. Having said that,
Ruiz down the inside, and he's brave, Esteban Ruiz, as well. We saw that all the way through the Estoril weekend, but he wants to get the opportunity to hit the front. He's done that with that move on Alvaro Carpe, and you can see Carpe now under pressure as well. It looks like it's Adrian Cruz or Hugo Milan trying to get down the inside of him as well. So these early stages of the race, Kiko, being very combative.
Yeah, everyone getting their elbows out. Carpe fighting straight back, turn 12. Not really an overtaking point because you cost all your time coming up over the top of the hill at turn 13. But Carpe now, and by doing that, as I said, has now left him open to attack from, I think that's Milan.
Hugo.
It is. Oh dear, Jacob Rolston. He was out of the seat there and he's gone wide again. Where did he go? How far back has he dropped the number 12? He has gone way back. He's well behind. He's at the back of the group. He's behind the number 26. That is 26 is Pau Alsina. So Pau Alsina, and that is way out the top 10. He's got a mountain to climb as Jacob Rolston.
Yeah, for Rolston as well. We saw, obviously, he was the race winner in Estoril, the opening race of the year. Crashed out of race 2, but was able to make a fast start in this race, but that mistake's pushed him all the way down the order. At the front of the field, though, you can see that we've still got Alvaro Carpe. He fought back to retake that lead from Ruiz, but in the early stages of these races, 17,
front end was walking.
Big moment there for Cruces. But in the early stages of this race, it really is a case of trying to avoid the trouble. Make sure you're able just to stay in those leading positions. In Talent Cup races, it really is a case of trying to make sure you're always in those top 5 positions. You can see Alberto Ferrandez, he's up there inside the top 5 right now. He has been given the long lap penalty board, so now it's a question of when he'll take that. If he'll take it this lap or if he'll take it the next lap, he is going to have to take it soon. He's going to drop all the way down to the back of this group, but you've got to be able to regroup, just pick the riders off as you go. You can see that overtaking is very much possible here in the ETC around Valencia. You can see with Ruiz, is he going to try and get down the inside once again?
He'll
Not
try.
quite able to. Alvaro Carpe able to pan that move off, but certainly right now all of these riders trying to make sure they're able to make moves. Ferrandez didn't take the long lap penalty yet, so we'll keep an eye and see if he does that next time around. But Alvaro Carpe, he looks, Kiko, like a rider that knows the importance of today's race. We obviously spoke about it already. Crashed out of the opening race of the year, pole sitter in Estoril, so his speed's there, but now needs to pick up those podiums, pick up those big points.
Yeah, he needs to really get his head down and try and break away from the guys behind him, because Carpe's the one with the experience. He knows what this class is like. He's been in here before. He's been the chaser. Now he is being chased. The number 10 of Cruz has got ahead of the 78 of Joelle Esteban and through on the inside. Hugo Milan got that done. Oh, Uriarte has gone down. Alessandro Uriarte. Not sure where that is, but we'll pick that up when we get to it. The number 16. There he is. Oh dear, that is not a good start to his weekend. He's okay, though. He's up on his feet and he'll get another chance to do it all again later. But out front, Carpe ahead of Cruzes and ahead of the pole man, which is Hugo Milan, who is looking very feisty here in the opening few laps of this race.
Yeah, Hugo's not afraid of trying to make the moves in these early stages of the race. You can see there the fastest lap right now, 1:42.6. That's about 0.4 of a second slower than the fastest time we've had all the way through this weekend. And that's with a little bit of rain earlier on today. So track conditions clearly not too bad in these early stages of the European Talent Cup race. Big group here at the front. You can see now Ferrandez, he's going to try and get down the inside. Lots of riders trying to get down the inside, including Esteban Ruiz there in the 78. Ferrandez is now coming up to where the long lap penalty has to be taken. The next couple of corners, will the 54 dart out to take that long lap penalty?
Let's have a look. He's in sixth at the moment. Oh, who's
doesn't take the long lap penalty
Garcia
again, so he's still waiting, Kiko, to do that. As you said, lots of riders trying to make moves there. Garcia, we saw in Estoril, able to battle it out for podium spots. It's actually the number 31, and it is Roberto Garcia that's trying to make all those moves in the early stages. Alvaro Carpe, though, still able to hold on to the early race lead. Looks comfortable out there. You can see Garcia on the purple bike trying to get down the inside of Esteban Ruiz. Not quite able to do it. But all these riders, Kiko, look like they've got a little bit of confidence right now as the conditions continue to improve.
Absolutely. And I think the number 10 there of Hugo Milan, the number 44 of Hugo Milan, has got, I think he's had a collision because his front brake protector is pointing skyward. So 4 abreast into turn 1, that is not going to work, surely. Joelle Esteban got it done on the inside. But there you can see it right on your screen just then at turn 1. Jacob Ralston off wide again at the top of the screen. Through comes Adrian Cruz and through on the inside. Hugo Milan, dear me, well, the front brake protector being up there didn't put him off putting a move on the inside at turn 2. So there you can see it there very, very clearly. Number 44, he's got his front brake protector just out of position a little bit in comparison to the other bikes. But out front is still Joelle Esteban Ruiz, who at the moment, he's had a couple of laps at the front already in this race, a couple of turns at the front, I should say. He's doing well, and it doesn't mean it's all academic at this stage of the race, but track time at the front is always good experience.
Yeah, for Ruiz, he made his debut last time out in Estoril, now trying to make sure he's able to get that experience of leading these races. It's the number 10, though, of Adrian Cruz. He is the championship leader after the opening 2 races of the year. He takes the race lead, and you can see he's followed immediately through there by Hugo Milan. Like you said, Kiko, a little bit of contact earlier in this race for Hugo, but that's why you got the brake protectors. You can see there, though, the 31 of Garcia once again trying to make that move. This is Ferrandez now taking that long lap penalty. Let's see how much time he loses. He's going to drop behind Jacob Ralston, so moves to the back of the group. He's going to do his best to still have a bit of a run on Ralston, but he's given himself a good opportunity now. So it's Ralston in front of him on the number 12 machine, and then also Gonzalo Perez on the number 25 machine just in front of that. So definitely loses time with that, but not too much time. Still going to be able to attack during this race as well. You can see Max Martinez behind this. He's not afraid of attacking. He's made another move down the inside. That's Joelle Esteban Ruiz running out wide there, a little bit out of the saddle, but at least for Ruiz, he's always been able to just get himself into the battles in this group, same as what we saw last time out in Estoril as well. Good start to the season for him.
Yeah, great start. Through comes Hugo Milan. That's on the number 31 of Roberto Garcia. Garcia, unbelievable start from him. He's from 13th on the grid. So Roberto Garcia, top stuff. Running wide there was Philip Ton. Lots of riders running wide. Track limits warning for Jacob Ralston. We've seen it about 2 or 3 times already on screen. So Ralston cannot do that too many more times. Oh no, it wasn't. I thought Hugo Milan was going to go up the inside. He didn't quite do it. Thought better of it.
Yeah, and in these early stages of the race, always a worry when you start getting those track limits warnings. We've still got 12 laps to go, still 2/3 of this race left. And for the likes of Jacob Rolston on number 12, if you're already getting those warnings, it is something that you're going to have to be very careful of all the way through this race. A lot of racing still left here in the European Talent Cup. Out in front, Adrian Cruz continuing to lead, but Garcia once again on the 31 machine, making moves down the inside, this time on Hugo Milan, always looking combative in the early stage of this race. Kiko, it's just what we saw from him in Estoril as well.
He was able to fight through, I think, from 11th on the grid back in Estoril, so great stuff from Roberto Garcia. Proof as well that qualifying is not everything. What are we going to have a look at here? Is this the contact? No, it's the move from Hugo Milan. Yeah, a little bit of nod, thinking, well, you're pushing your luck there, my boy. The 31 then goes back a place and the 44 moves up. Lots of bumps at the front of that bike and the rear end as well. There's a very, very bumpy apex at turn 1. Got to be careful. Through Max Martinez, I thought was going to have a look at it. Can't quite do it though. Onto the front straight, leading this one. Number 10, Adrian Cruz says, the local rider. That'll get the locals on their feet.
Yeah, lots of Valencian riders in the field here in the European Talent Cup. It is still Cruz leading across the line, but they're going to fan out to be 5 abreast on the run into turn 1, and that's where Martinez on the 28 is able to do that. He was able to break very deep, very late, all the way through the Estoril weekend. Philip Tom once again running out wide. And this is where it gets very dangerous for those riders further down the field, because you give race direction no choice. They have to pay attention to that. If it's happened a few times in a row, Philip Tom's going to be a watchman now for the next couple of laps to make sure he doesn't do it once again. That's whenever you can start getting the long lap penalties. Martinez in second spot on that 28 machine. The key thing in these Talent Cup races, Kiko, is anytime someone makes moves, you have to try and get yourself back to the front of the group. The riders that do well in the European Talent Cup or the Asia Talent Cup, the British Talent Cup, because all these machines are identical, it's all about being able to stay in those leading groups. Esteban Ruiz, another rider, just running wide there as well. Yeah,
you can't afford to run wide too many times, and I mean, like we've said, Steve, we've got 11 laps of this race to go. It's a long, long way on these bikes. We're not even near half race distance. We've only just gone over a third race distance, so really time for everyone to settle down. And I do think having Alvaro Carpe at the front, wow, Garcia, big dive up the inside. Does he put it down? Does he shove? Oh,
he's going to shove him out wide anyway to take that
how
position.
How did that end up? Yes,
Garcia
he did get through.
On the 31, able to make the move.
No, he didn't.
He didn't. Able to get out break there on the run down into the corner. Hugo Milan doing a good job there to hold on to the position. But Garcia in the early stages of this race, Kiko, he looks like the rider most able to make those moves. He looks like the rider able to really put himself into different positions. You can see a proper dive down the inside there from the 78 of Ruiz, able to move past 2 riders in one go there as well. Ruiz looks like he's been quite combative in these early stages as well, Kiko. It really is a case of these guys that want to make the moves, putting themselves in those positions. You can see Martinez once again in the run into turn 1 able to do that. But in these Talent Cup races,
that's Emmanuel Brinton, the number 43. But look at this, Philip Tom, he wasn't just off the green, he was almost out the circuit boundaries there. Wow, he was wide. And talking of wide, so was Max Martinez. That's let Carpe off the hook.
Yeah, you're certainly going to see Philip Tom again running wide onto the green. So Philip Tom's certainly going to be under the microscope from race direction. We saw in the opening races of the year that he wasn't afraid of getting himself in and about it, but in this race he's just giving them a bit too much reason to keep paying attention to him, and in the European Talent Cup you really can't afford to do that. You can see here Max Martinez, Kiko, able to take the lead of the race, makes a mistake but still able to collect it, give himself another chance. But himself and the 31 of Garcia, Ruiz as well, they've been the riders that have been very combative in these early stages.
They've had to be, you know, they've been attacked, you know, and I do feel like these guys at the front 5 or 6 are the ones who have got genuine good pace. The problem is everyone else thinks that as well. And look at that lunge. Wow, how did he pull that down? Roberto Garcia, fantastic stuff. He crashed at that corner last year. He's obviously got no ill memories of it. Unbelievable stuff. The 31 came from so far back to pull it down. He's in the podium places from 13th on the grid.
I don't think Garcia knows that it's the 7th lap of the race, not the 17th lap of the race, but he's making sure that he's always able to make all of those moves. You can see in the run down into the last corner as well. Hugo Milan, he's made that move a few times on the run down into towards that slow left-hander. But for these riders, it is a case of now trying to figure out where you've got your advantage. Obviously, all the machines are very identical. It comes down to how the riders actually get the most out of their bikes. All of these riders tend to have very different styles. You look at Max Martinez on the 28, very good on the brakes, able to really be aggressive, attack on the run into a couple of these slower corners. But you can see again Jacob Rolston running wide in the background. A lot of other riders doing the same. Alvaro Carpe, though, on the 83, able to hold on to that race lead. Carpe's done a good job here, Kiko, in the opening half of the race.
He's done what we needed him, well, what we said he needed to do, and that was to hit the front and just try and keep it clean. Unfortunately, he did that too late in Estoril race 1, and he tucked the front to turn 7. Hopefully that doesn't happen again here, but he's looking very, very good. Cruz did actually take the lead in between turn 1 and 2. Look at this battle round here. Look at the bumps as well. That's the 78 of Joel Estebando, and he's a little bit further down. Whereabouts is he? 7th at the moment. The 85 is Jabi Zuratuza. Now he's come through the grid as well, and he's having a good race.
Yeah, for Ruiz, we saw that he was tapping the tail unit as well to Uriarte behind him. He wants to be able to make sure that he's able to set the pace to bring them up to the group in front. There is starting to be that little bit of a gap. You can see Jabi there on the number 85 losing a little bit of ground. Down the inside once again, though, into the right-hander, we see that it's the 31 of Garcia making the moves. So we know, Kiko, that's where he's going to try and make his moves at the end of the race. That's where he feels really strong. Martinez looks like he's going to be a little bit stronger in the first sector. So all these riders now is trying to pick their way through, see where they're able to set the pace.
And I'll tell you what's good about Garcia being very, very strong at that turn 11 is that after that, if he makes a pass there on the last lap, there's only really one place that they can be able to pass him back, and that's the last corner. But he's so quick through the final sector, they might not be able to do it. Through comes Max Martinez, though, by the looks of things. He's slipstreaming his way through. The number 28, he will go into 3rd. Will he go any further? No, but Cruz will. Cruz goes to the front. So Adrian Cruz, good race from him so far. Look at this. This is just getting a bit ridiculous now.
Philip Ton again doing it once again. That's 4 or 5 laps in a row he's done that. So we'll keep an eye on Philip Ton and the race direction decisions. But at the front of it, you can see Chris Daniel out of this race now as well. And this is his European Talent Cup debut. He'll get the opportunity to race again in a couple of hours' time. That'll be the final race of the day as the European Talent Cup closes out the action in Valencia. But it's all about gaining your experience in the European Talent Cup. He's only a young kid from Los Angeles trying to make his way here in Europe. Done a solid job in the feeder classes, now trying to make that step up. But we're moving into the second half of the race now. This is really whenever the leading group does start to separate itself out. This is also where you'd imagine we're going to start getting the long lap penalties for some of the riders in this lead group as well, and that is going to splinter the group a little bit further. But at the front of the field, Kiko, we've had the same riders there or thereabouts all the way through. You can see Alvaro Carpe on the 83 leading away. Max Martinez. Garcia's going to try down the inside again on the 31. But all these leading 5 riders, Joelle Ruth there we see as well, they've yo-yoed their way around but always stayed at the front. Adrian Cruz, our championship leader, he's been very consistent through the early stages of this race.
Oh, over the sausage curve. That was Max Martinez. As you say, Steve, yeah, it's great that they're swapping and changing, because they're swapping and changing positions with riders of their own pace, but that won't work, surely.
Uriarte comes from a mile back to move himself up. You can see Ruiz out of the saddle there as well. Martinez on the 28. He's going to have to use the slipstream, try and be aggressive on the run down in towards turn 1. I don't think aggression's a big issue for these riders. They're all up for it right now. You can see them ducking and weaving down the start-finish straight. Uriarte, though, on that 51 machine, moves himself up into 2nd spot. It's the first time we've really seen him that far up the field during the course of this race. So making progress. That looks like Carpe's all the way out. He's got a problem. Carpe out of the race. And the rider that led so much of the opening race of the year in Estoril before crashing out, scored points in the second race. He's led lots of the laps in this race as well, and suddenly comes away with no points again. That's 3 races into the season, and he hasn't scored an awful lot of points in those 3 races. It's going to be a real challenge for him. You can see the frustration there for Alvaro Carpe, and it's tough times for a rider when this happens. He hasn't done anything wrong in a class like this, Kiko, where everyone's got the same machine. You always expect reliability to be good. Unfortunately for Alvaro Carpe there, though, bit of bad luck.
He's going to need a stretcher for anger, Stevie. He's going to be absolutely seething after that. He crashed out the lead in race 1 of the year. He was 8th in race 2 of the year, and a mechanical problem in race 3 of the year. The good thing is it's ETC. There's not going to be too many title contenders that are going to pull away. It's going to be very, very close throughout the whole season. But that is another kick in the teeth for Carpe. What does he need to do to catch a break? Meanwhile, out front, Adrian Cruz is leading his home round, and that's a great stuff from him. It's Acuna de Campeones 1-2. There's your pole sitter there. Hugo Milan is in second, but look who is in third place. Fantastic.
Second place now for Uriarte. He's going to try and attack, not quite close enough to make that. But Kiko, it is a case of in these early stages of the season, you wait for someone to separate themselves. Adrian Cruz has been able to do that. Very consistent in Estoril, leading this race as we come across the line as well. Always been in that top 5-6 positions during the course of this race. He's setting himself up in these opening 3 races of the year as a real title contender, just with that bit of experience, that bit of a cool head as well. We don't tend to see an awful lot of mistakes from Cruz so far this season. Speaking of mistakes, there's another time where Jacob Rolston's ran a little bit wide. But look at Cruz here, down the inside, always Martinez gets stepped up by Garcia. But for all these riders, Kiko, it's about trying to keep a cool head around you. Certainly Cruz can do that. Garcia wants to just constantly make moves, it seems. But Cruz, after what we saw in Estoril, really carrying that form forward. Yeah, he's really on it. You know, he's a championship leader for a reason. If he can bag a win here, that would be spectacular. Look at Zuratouza. That's the 85 of Zuratouza, I think it is, who's come through into second place. Garcia's going to fight back, I'm sure. The Cuna de Campeones, they have got a class here, but it looks like it's a class out front on its own. There's 3 of them in the top 4 places. Yeah, and you can see here with the riders all fanning into the left-handers, but we are now finally getting long lap penalties for the likes of Rulston, but it's also Esteban Ruiz on the number 78 getting a long lap penalty. Didn't actually notice him running wide too often compared to some of the other riders, but that's a very costly penalty for the man that's now moved himself up into what, 4th position there on the 78 machine. He's going to drop all the way to the back of this group. If you look at where Ferrandez is on the 54 machine, that's the cost of a long lap penalty around Valencia. You then have to work so hard to get yourself through, and they're only going to have 5 laps, Kiko. So after they take the long lap penalty, only 4 laps to try and make that progress. It's going to be very tough. And the problem is as well that, you know, you're separating yourself from a group right at the wrong part of this race. You need to be in the pack. Look at the slipstream. They're almost on the grass as they come down the front straight. Cruz is leading. Look at Hugo Milan. He's going to go shoulder to shoulder. He's already got... Oh, and through comes Joelle. That's the man he obviously hasn't seen. He's got a long lap. Or maybe he has. Maybe that's why he's thinking he might get another one if he carries on down. Well, he's already got 1 penalty, so might as well use the green again. But for Ruiz, you can see now trying to get himself down the inside to take this race lead. Max Martinez in the 28 has been shuffled back in this group, and now this is whenever he needs to get his elbows out, try and make his progress again. For Martinez, we've seen he's very much a reactionary rider, and now he needs to be able just to keep himself calm, try and just be a little bit more methodical to get himself to the front. We know that there's long lap penalties in this group, including the man in second spot there on the 78 machine. You can see for Ruiz, he's under attack here from Hugo Milan. As it stands right now, though, for the likes of Adrian Cruz out in front on the number 10 machine, the rider in second will get a long lap penalty. Hugo Milan is in third spot. Garcia on the 31 has been very aggressive all the way through this race. These are the riders that we've seen hit the front regular throughout the course of the 12 laps so far in this race. Now we're starting to see this group build their pace, Kiko, separate themselves out a little bit. Ruiz does take the long lap penalty. Does Rulston follow him in? Yes, he does. So we've got synchronised long laps there. Now that isn't too bad from Rulston, from Esteban. He's still in the group-ish. He's just battling there with the 95. That's Marco Morelli. For Rulston, he's way down the order. He's behind Alberto Ferrandez. That's outside the top 10. It's barely in the points where he is. Meanwhile, back at the front, yeah, you it's status quo. At the front, the riders just keeping station right now. We've got 4 laps left in this European Talent Cup race. This really is the time now where the riders need to make sure they settle themselves down and try and just open this group up a little bit. You want to just have someone set a little bit of a faster pace at this point. Stretch it out. It's almost like a cycling race now. This is where you really need to make sure that you don't make a mistake. You want to make sure that you're able to put yourself into the right position for that final lap. And Kiko, we are now starting to see this group settle themselves down. It looks like it's 8 riders now in that lead group. Yeah, Philip Ton's dropped off the back. Track limits warning for the number 85. That's Javi Zuratouza. That's one of the main riders here. He is in third place at the moment. Acuna de Campeones 1, 2, 3. Anybody? Well, careful. Zuratouza might not be able to do that if he gets a long lap. So let's see. At the moment, though, the number 44, Hugo Milan, he was on pole and he had good pace right the way through this weekend. And he's just starting to hit on now. He's just starting to stretch his legs and go at the front of this field. And we know Hugo Milan has the pace. We know that Adrian Cruz has the cool head. We saw that in Estoril. He didn't panic in Estoril. Hasn't panicked during the course of this race so far. Like you said, Keek, with the 85 Ajabi, he's got a track limits warning. Hasn't been given a penalty yet, but can't afford to make another mistake. You can see Max Martinez on the 28 in the second group. He knows that that leading group is now breaking away. Garcia once again trying to make that move down the inside. This time, though, we've been able to see Xabi on that 85 run around the outside. But for Max Martinez, he can see the group starting to stretch themselves out. He doesn't want to lose touch with that. But Esteban Ruiz already making his progress. Yeah,
he's already finding his way back through. Just a note there, Brian Uriarte had a bit of a moment coming out of turn 8, and it just through on the inside. That comes a 44. That's your poleman, and following him through Zuratuza. Will he get? Oh no, he doesn't get it quite good there. But yeah, 51 there. The Brian Uriarte, out of turn 8, had a bit of a moment, and it just bodged Maximo Martinez, and it just didn't give him the run through the fast stuff. Through comes Zuratuza. That's going to be a race lead. Yes, it is. Zuratuza then ahead of, that is Cruzes in second, the local rider. Then through on is coming, that's Hugo Milan. Garcia in third place. Martinez backing it in. Doesn't get it too wide, I don't think. Yes, he got placed up to the top 5. 2 to go.
You can see now in this group it has closed up once again. You can see Garcia on the 31 making the move into turn 4. That's the first time we've really seen him making moves anywhere other than the double right-hander. Closes the door now as well. Garcia's been a rider that's been able to get very combative all the way through this race. Not afraid of making the moves, and certainly not afraid of trying to hit the front. That is the 51 of Uriarte. You mentioned him there, Kiko, for a mistake on the last lap. Managed to collect himself, give himself a chance. The 78 of Esteban Ruiz, he's just behind that lead group, trying to close in with 2.5 laps to go. Might have just given himself a little bit too much to chew off at this stage. As it is, out in front, we've still got the Cunha Compianas bikes out there in the leading positions. Adrian Cruz, our championship leader after the opening race of the year, leading this race. We've got Garcia up into second spot, and then we've got what looks like it's still Xabi on the 85 bike in third position, Hugo Milan on the 44, and then Max Martinez on the 28. All these riders now knowing, Keiko, 2 laps to go. This is when you've got to make your moves.
Garcia's going to make a move here. Got a superb run out of turn 13. Is he going to let the brakes off into turn 14? Ooh, he tried it, but the number it's on the inside comes Hugo Milan on Xabi Zuratuza. That's for third place, but very good on the brakes was the race leader. Adrian Cruz has really got it stopped into turn 14 very, very well indeed. But now it's a slipstream battle. 2 to go. They're hugging the white line. They're trying to close off any possibility of a draft. Look at Max Martinez, surely not forced to first. Oh, it's like clockwork, and that's like clockwork as well because he went wide on the exit, so he completely missed his break. Almost contact. That was to Cruzes and Zuratuza, and Garcia is leading. Steve, I've got to say Garcia's looking odds on here. He's looking very, very cool, calm and collected, and he's got great braking strategy into the corners.
Tell you what, Kiko, I wish you were my bookie if you were offering odds-on advice on European Talent Cup action. As it is right now, Garcia's managed to hit the front on the 31 machine. We know he's not afraid of making moves all the way through this race. The 44 Hugo Milan was our pole setter. Max Martinez, he's very aggressive, but he's not always that consistent. He ran wide a few times, giving himself a bit too much work to do. Esteban Ruiz giving himself a bit too much work to do on the 78 machine with that slide. He's now pushed himself back, a lap and a half to go. Going to be very difficult for him. You can see all 3 riders now trying to make their moves on the run down in towards the left-hander. We know Garcia is very strong into the next corner. This is a real opportunity, though, for Hugo Milan to really study what Garcia is doing, give him something to think about in the final lap of the race. It is still Garcia on the 31 leading here, though, from the 44.
Yeah, I can't believe there's a few corners to go. Martinez tried that move around the outside at turn 8. That's not very wise. Garcia's leading, though, and they haven't got near him. Now, we did say earlier in this race, Steve, that Garcia, if he's leading into that turn 11, he might not be able to be passed before the last corner, and he isn't. That was a good dress rehearsal there. He may have gone early. The problem is now Cruzes and Milan and Martinez have all seen that.
Yeah, for all these riders now chasing down Garcia, they know that they've got 4 kilometers left to try and make the moves. Max Martinez slipstreams across the line to take the race lead. We've got the 44 Hugo Milan. He was our pole setter up in second spot. Brian Uriarte trying to get himself up into third position there on the Monlau bike. Good move up into third position. You can see there at this stage of the race, Esteban Ruiz at the back of this group setting the pace. So he's trying to close right up. The 44, though, Hugo Milan takes the race lead from Martinez. This is now where the riders have to start setting themselves up. Garcia's dropped down to 5th position. We know he's going to try and make moves in the last lap, though, Kiko.
He is, but I don't know if he's going to do it from back there, Steve. He might be able to get the podium, but I can't see him getting the victory now. He's been really shuffled back in a straight line. Don't know what I was on about a couple of laps ago, saying he was odds on. He'll barely get the rostrum now. At the moment, it is Milan who's leading. Martinez, we know he's good in the braking area. He's got to have a go if he's close enough.
Twitch for Martinez
Twitch
there. He runs himself wide. It is still Hugo Milan on the 44 leading this race. Martinez now under attack from Uriarte. Uriarte's got a good drive to get down there. You can see how close it gets in the mid-pack. It looks like Uriarte was able to make the move on the entry into that corner. He has managed to do that. Is he close enough to Hugo Milan to try and attack? He's going to be under attack from the likes of Martinez into the next right-hander. Martinez on the white bike, the number 28, not quite able to make the move. Garcia has made the move. Can he get himself back onto the podium with a last corner move? Hugo Milan leading this way with half a lap to go on the 44 machine. Is he out of touch from Uriarte on the 51 machine? Uriarte's had a good run through, but is he going to be close enough trying to tack down in towards the final corner? The left-hander looks like Max Martinez is going to try and do that as well. The leading 3 riders get in, and that's Garcia that's gone down. Just trying to push too hard, trying to make that podium spot. As they come across the line, it's going to be Hugo Milan leading the way over the line, but Uriarte is going to use the slipstream, take that race victory. Martinez might have gotten second spot. Hugo Milan might have been relegated down to third. There was less than half a tenth a second between those 3 riders, and it is Uriarte that takes the race victory. That's Garcia, just trying to attack a little bit too much in that final lap. That's the number 5 then of Powelek that's crashed at the last corner.
That's a big one.
The last lap looks like a big one for him. Uriarte's going to be pleased with that, though, because he timed that one to perfection to use the slipstream. Great race from Brian Uriarte to take that race victory. Has a little bit of a burnout on the 51 machine. He's going to get the opportunity to be back in action in a couple of hours' time, but that was a fantastic performance by Uriarte.
What a race. He's come from 14th on the grid to do that, Steve. Fantastic. Heartbreak for Garcia. That was just not fair. Unlucky, so unlucky. Last corner, last lap, and unfortunately just tucking the front. We knew he was good in the braking area. He was too good for his own good there. This is what's happened. He's backing it in. He's in too fast anyway. He's just gone to grab the front brake, and the front end has gone away from him, and so has a 13-point paying position. Disaster. Up on his feet though. Look at that. He wasted no time. Wow.
For Garcia, he's making sure that he's able to put himself into a position to try and make a move into that last corner, just from too far back, but he committed to it all the way through, and just making that mistake. But he'll be able to bounce back in this afternoon's race. We know he's got speed. We know he's very brave around this Valencia track to try and make those moves. Now he just needs to make sure he's able to come away with the points in this afternoon's race. That is our race winner, Brian Uriarte, able to take this race victory. He's been able to make it 3 different race winners in the opening 3 races of the year, and we also have it where we've had another rider making his podium debut, Max Martinez. He had 2 top 5 finishes in Estoril, comes away with 20 points here in second spot, and then we also have Hugo Milan up on the podium. Hugo, the only rider now with 2 podiums during the course of this European Talent Cup season. He's going to make his way back to Parc Ferme, back to the podium. You can see there for Max Martinez, the number 28, he's really pleased with himself for that. Came into this 5th in the championship standings, and once again showing that he's going to be a rider to watch all the way through this season on that number 28 machine. And now Martinez into Parc Ferme, joined there by his team to offer them their congratulations. You can see the 44 of Hugo Milan. He'll be disappointed to come away with just that podium spot after really feeling that he had the opportunity to take that race victory. But in the European Talent Cup, it really is a case of points make prizes, and you got to make sure that you're able to come away with big points-paying positions all the way through the season. Hugo did that in Estoril with a podium. Now he's been able to back that up with another podium during this race. And our race winner, Brian Uriarte, able to come away with the race victory. He didn't score points in the second race of the year in Estoril, scored points in the first race, but now he'll know that his championship challenge really does start here. He's only 12 years of age from up in the Basque Country, but he kept such a cool head all the way through that race. Really was very impressive from Brian Uriarte, so it'll be exciting to see how he's going to develop all the way through this season. you can see what it means for him, what it means for his team as well. And certainly they're going to be able to celebrate that. But for Brian Uriarte, this is the last corner. This is the move that he makes on the run to the slipstream to the line. Look at the 51 machine in second spot there behind Hugo Milan. Times it to perfection to get the run on Hugo Milan, and then Max Martinez also able to make the move as well. So Martinez able to come away with good points from that as well. And certainly for those three riders, it could have gone either way, but for Brian Uriarte, he can celebrate that race victory. Only 12 years of age, in his second round of European Talent Cup action, and keeping that cool head all the way through. That's what separates these riders in the ETC. It's who's able to make the moves when they matter, and then who's able to keep themselves out of trouble when it matters as well. Uriarte was able to do that all the way through this race. Nothing quite like that first race victory for Brian Uriarte. It's going to be interesting to hear what he has to say down in Park Fermin to Kiko as well, because it's going to be hard for him to keep his emotions in check. Only 12 years of age to be able to do something like that. You're up against riders with a lot more experience in the European Talent Cup, and he's able to come out on top. We got quite a few riders in this that are in their third season of ETC action, 14, 15 years of age. And that little bit more experience does make a big difference usually. But we also have seen it lots of times in the past where riders can jump into the ETC and make an immediate impact. But certainly for Brian Uriarte, it's going to be interesting to see how he follows that up in this afternoon's race in a few hours' time. At least he's got a celebration on point as well with the burnout straight away. We're going to get the opportunity to hear from him in a couple of moments. But certainly for Uriarte, this is a massive moment for the 12-year-old. He's down in Park Fermin with Kiko Giles.
Brian Uriarte, your first win in the class. How does it feel to be a race winner?
I feel very good because it's our first win on the new category. And starting in the 14th position is not a very easy race. So I feel very good. I think we are improving race to race, and that's it. I am no worse. Thank you to my family, my team. I don't have words. That's it. Thank you.
And in Spanish.
Bueno, ha sido una carrera muy difícil, ya que empezar desde la 14ª posición pues no es fácil. Y bueno, creo que vamos mejorando carrera a carrera. Y quiero darle las gracias a mi equipo, a mi familia y bueno, dedicar esta carrera a mi abuela, que es hoy su cumpleaños, y a mi hermano, que ayer ha sido también el suyo. Gracias.
See you in race 2. Well done.
European Talent Cup action underway here in Valencia. Alvaro Carpe with a very fast start from the outside of the front row. Field managed to make their way through the opening laps without any trouble, but there was action all the way through at the front of the field. This is Joelle Ruth making his move. We did have some long lap penalties, including for Alberto Ferrandez, but Ferrandez was able to rejoin and still battle it out during the course of this 17-lap race. David Garcia was in the thick of things, but Hugo Milan, our pole sitter, was trying to make sure he was able to answer back all the way through this race. Milan, a constant figure at the front of this European Talent Cup race. In a field as close as the European Talent Cup, it really is a case of tripping over one another at times as everyone tries to find some sort of an advantage. But sometimes you can just be out of luck. Alvaro Carpe with a mechanical issue that ruled him out of action. In the closing stages of the race, Brian Uriarte was able to start to make some progress into the top 10 and pick off riders. He was helped by those long lap penalties as well. That's Jacob Rolston taking a long lap penalty that pushed him to the back of those points paying positions. At the front of the field, we had a big group, and it was really a case of trying to attack any time you could. Max Martinez ran in hot into turn 1, opened the door for some other riders to make their way through. On the final laps of the race, we saw Brian Uriarte really start to make his progress. Hugo Milan had opened up a little bit of a lead, but Uriarte made sure he was closing that down all the way through. Garcia crashed at the final corner, but as they came across the line, Uriarte was able to make the difference.
Recibimos al representante del equipo ganador Team Estrella Galicia.
So for the European Talent Cup riders, we're going to see Brian Uriarte on the top step of the podium for the first time, Max Martinez on the podium for the first time, and Hugo Milan able to take his second podium finish of this season. Hugo Milan, of course, starting from pole position and able to come away with 16 points once again from this race. In second spot, Max Martinez. Very impressive performance from Martinez. But the 12-year-old kid, Brian Uriarte, Kiko, able to have just a fantastic last lap. Really cool head all the way through.
A very cool head all the way through. And do you know what? His English isn't that bad either. It's very, very good. So well done to Brian Uriarte. That's how he wanted to start ETC, really. And he's come to Valencia, a track he knows relatively well, and hopefully this will be solid foundations to build on. But a great podium nonetheless for Maximo Martinez. He almost got that victory there. And in second place as well for Hugo Milan.
Yeah, Hugo Milan, of course, our pole sitter, comes away with a podium position as well, and able to come away with decent points. It actually looks like our timing screens are a little bit wrong. We've been saying that it's been Uriarte from Martinez and Milan. They've switched positions on the podium, so clearly some sort of an issue with our timing loops. But for these riders, they're able to celebrate this podium finish. Like I said, Hugo Milan able to come away with his second podium of the year. We've had 3 races, 8 different podium finishers, 3 different race winners, and Brian Uriarte able to take his first European Talent Cup victory. There you have it, the opening race of the day for the European Talent Cup. And Kiko, it's going to be quite exciting to have them back on track again to close out today's running.
If that was race 1, I can't wait for race 2. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And you know, this is what this class is about. It's about close quarter racing. It's about getting your elbows out, and it's about unearthing new talent onto the world stage in front of a global audience. And it's a great thing that the new stars actually do get their opportunity at a younger age now.
Yeah, and they get the opportunity now to celebrate that race. All 3 of them are going to certainly think that they deserve to have that opportunity on the podium, because in a group battle like we saw in the ETC, it really was a case of the cream rising to the top. Whoever kept their head the coolest in these kind of conditions was able to make their progress through, and all 3 riders now have given themselves a really good foundation now going into race 2 in a few hours' time. As you can see there, Brian Uriarte able to take his first European Talent Cup victory, Max Martinez with his first podium in the ETC, and Hugo Milan with his second podium of the season. And in the European Talent Cup Championship standings, Adrian Cruz continuing to lead the way but it is getting closer and closer at the top of the standings. In the opening race of the European Talent Cup action here in Valencia, Brian Uriarte able to claim his first European Talent Cup race victory, only 12 years of age, and the future certainly looks very bright for the man from Basque Country.